Darkcast Network, indie pods with a dark side.
Hi, this is Kelly.
And this is Jenna.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is One Dung Heap from Murder.
It just makes me think of Jurassic Park when they stick their hands in the giant.
Right.
Bleh.
My kids and I play the Lego version of Jurassic Park on the Xbox.
Yes.
And when they do that to find, there's usually something buried under a giant dung heap.
Oh my God.
They actually dive in.
Oh, seriously?
Right. So gross. So yeah, dung heap. I thought that was nice.
I love it. We need it. I mean, you had a dung heap today in your house. So
having
dung heap
pets
pup
is
day.
Wonderful. So this just fits right in with the week that I've been having.
Perfect. Wonderful.
So this episode, I blame Snapped. I saw this episode of Snapped, and but because I watched this episode of Snapped that got my attention, I'm kind of encroaching on your area here. This is Colorado.
Oh, Colorado. Well, we have so much to go by here in our lovely state.
I'm sure there's many more.
So many.
But I have a Colorado one. Are you familiar with Gunnison, Colorado?
Oh, yes. It's beautiful.
It's the home of Western Colorado University, I found out. Okay. Have you been there?
I have. I think I've driven through.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a gorgeous area. So yeah.
Well, for those of us who are very unfamiliar with Colorado, I looked up, it's about 200 miles southwest of Denver. Very small rural area. In 2020, the population of Gunnison was 6,500 people.
Wow. It is tiny.
It's tiny, right? So this is now why they're famous.
Wonderful. We're not known for our crop.
No, this is what they're going to be known for now. Yep. Okay.
Wonderful.
So Gunnison is the home of the 7-Eleven Ranch, not to be confused with the rest stop or the franchise with the, I don't think they have Slurpees there.
No, dang it.
It's the 7-Eleven Ranch.
They have the Slurpee cows.
Oh, gross. Yeah. Talk about a dung heap. The ranch is about a 700-acre property. Ooh. That was purchased in 1964 by Marion Rudibaugh, who he went by the name of Rudy.
Oh, I like that.
Rudy Rudibaugh.
Rudy.
Yep. He was a World War II vet who lived there with his wife and 4 kids after he purchased it. And this ranch, it has rental cabins. It's got campsites, horseback riding, and hunting guide services. It's a working ranch. It's big.
It's dude ranch almost.
It's a great place. I almost named it Dude Ranch, but I wasn't sure if it really was a dude ranch, and I didn't want to get my terminology wrong.
Right.
So I went with dung heap.
Dung heap's good. I mean, probably won't use it again.
It comes into play, so it's cool.
Wonderful.
So after the Rudibaugh kids had grown and moved out, and Rudy's wife passed away, he hired a woman named Deborah Millison to help him manage the ranch.
Yeah, how would you do it all?
Right, exactly. Deborah was originally from Ohio.
Oh.
As a kid, she and her family had visited Colorado on a vacation, and she fell in love. This is part of the reason why I haven't visited, because then I'll have to up and move. So, and I just don't feel like packing right now.
So don't recommend it.
Right. She just, the ranches, the mountains, watching horses running freely.
Yeah.
It was her dream to someday move there. Sometime in the 80s, she was married. I don't know the name of her husband. I never found that out. Deborah and her husband and their 2 young kids, Stephanie and Jacob, who went by Jake, they made the move to Colorado.
Nice. She brought the fam.
She was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. And they all went, okay.
Sure.
Deborah quickly became indispensable on the ranch and became Rudy's right hand.
Smart. That way you can't leave. Perfect.
Right, exactly.
And I'm assuming they live there on the ranch too.
Yes.
Oh, how fantastic.
Then in 1993, to everyone's surprise, she divorced her husband.
Oh.
And then very quickly married Rudy, who was almost 25 years older than her.
I'm assuming Rudy has a lot of money having this giant ranch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Plus, I mean, I think the ranch was invaluable to her. She loved it.
She's like, I need to live here
This
forever.
is my place, right?
And my way to do that is this.
At this time, Stephanie was 7 and Jake was 6.
Oh, they were little.
They're still littles, yeah.
Oh.
They were expected to work on the ranch as well.
Yeah, okay.
So
Milking
much
the
so.
Slurpee cows.
Right, exactly. That Deborah actually pulled them out of school and decided to homeschool them so that they would have more time to help out.
Okay, that's extreme. All right.
Right. So, but they seem to some degree enjoy living and working on the ranch. Stephanie was great with animals. Jake was quiet, but he was very responsible. He was very hardworking.
Okay. That's good. But what about your social life?
Yeah, well, yeah. I should also mention that the brother and sister did not get along.
Oh, fun.
They're only like they're only a year apart in age, a boy and a girl. Mm-hmm. They were like oil and water. They just...
That sounds familiar. Yep. Sounds like me and my brother were.
Just, no, they don't get along.
And then you get to spend every moment together.
Right. You don't even get to go away at school and be in a different grade and have a different classroom with them.
Yeah, no.
No, right. At 2003, when Stephanie was 18, she fell in love with a 19-year-old guy named David Jackson. And she met him because he had come to town with a traveling carnival.
Oh,
so
no, he's a carny.
He's a 19-year-old carny.
Oh, shit.
Her dream man came to town and he was a carny.
I'm picturing like, kind of like Eminem, but even more ghetto. Smoker, super thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of gangly.
Yeah.
Needs some dental work. Yeah.
Missing some teeth.
Yeah, definitely. So David was apparently smitten with Stephanie right away, too, because the carnival was only in town for a couple days. And when the carnival moved on, David stayed.
David did not. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
right.
Sorry, Mom.
After only a few months, the couple got married.
Oh, shit. That's fast.
Yeah, right.
I guess he better start doing his tricks with animals now or something. I don't know.
So Rudy, who's now Stephanie's stepfather, gave her $80,000 out of what would have been her inheritance.
Oh, okay.
To purchase a home in Denver.
Nice. Wow.
Right? Yeah. Wow. Here's a little, I plan to leave you. I mean, he's got 4 kids, plus he's got these 2 stepkids. He's like, I'm planning on leaving you the money from this ranch. So here's a starter, buy a house, right? Wow. So that's what they did. So they bought a house in Denver. So that's where they moved. Now that Stephanie's gone, though, Jake was expected to take on more responsibility at the ranch.
Uh-oh.
They didn't, as far as I could tell, they didn't replace her.
Yeah, it's not like they hired somebody. Oh my gosh. Right. Well, and it sounds like Rudy's well enough off that
they probably could have, right? Over the next few years, money became a huge issue between the mother and son because they didn't pay him anything to work on the ranch. He just worked there for room and board. Okay. I kind of understand, but then they shouldn't expect him to work if he wants to go get money somewhere else. He should work. So I guess the way it was kind of put to him was his future inheritance should be enough. Ooh. Now, you don't know when that's coming. Yeah,
or if it'll ever even happen. So,
and this is when he's 17, 18, 19, 20.
It feels like forever.
Right. Oh my gosh, right? And come on. Could you imagine that? Hey, someday when you're 50, this will all be yours. So suck it up.
Yeah. So no thanks. I'm going to go live a life first.
I know, right? It was really difficult because anytime he wanted to go out with his friends, he had to ask his mother for money.
Oh, yeah.
He had no income.
Had nothing. Right? And no time to get another job if he's working that.
Because he's putting in all this time, right? 6 years later, in November of 2009, Rudy passed away at the age of 85. So remember, he was 25 years older than Deborah.
So Deb's like, woo, woo, buddy.
No, actually, I guess she really did love him.
Oh,
she fell into a deep depression.
Oh, that's surprising. Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad she actually cared.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. I'm shocked.
Right. You were kind of like gold digger, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too.
Yeah.
No, so she was really depressed. He and this ranch were everything to her. And she withdrew from everybody and the ranch suffered.
Oh, shit. Of course it would. So, she's kind of management.
She's kind of management, right? And now they don't have Rudy anymore to manage it. So because it was suffering, then it stopped being the moneymaker that it was, right?
Shit.
Jake, who was so frustrated with his lack of income, he went and got a part-time job.
Okay.
But even then, he ended up giving most of his paycheck to his mom to help out because the ranch was failing so badly.
Oh, no.
So now he's working on the ranch and he's doing a part-time job and he's still helping to financially support and not taking a paycheck from the
What a sweet kid.
I know. God. He was a really, really dependable, hardworking guy, right?
Yeah.
A few years later in 2012, Stephanie and David, who now had a little boy.
Oh, okay.
They moved back to Gunnison and got an apartment in town.
Oh, all right.
And David took a job at Gunnison Vintage Auto. And Stephanie went back to work on the ranch in an effort to try to get it back to where it needed to be. Yeah. She's like, all right, my mom is not handling this well. We need to get this all.
Let's get this shit show going.
We need to figure this all out, right? Unfortunately, the sibling rivalry between Stephanie and David, that kind of went in overdrive.
Oh, they haven't outgrown it.
No, they haven't.
You'd think Jacob would be like, thank God I got help.
Well, right. That would make sense. But they argued over who was really in charge.
Oh, great.
And who really had, the right to ultimately take over the ranch from their mother eventually. Because obviously Rudy's 4 kids, they didn't work on the ranch. They probably wanted their inheritance, but they didn't want anything to do with the ranch. So the ranch itself was going to go to one of the Millicent kids. Jake felt that the ranch was his. It was rightfully his.
He's been working his ass off.
Right. He never moved away. He's worked there his whole life. He has never taken any kind of a paycheck from it. And remember, Rudy gave Stephanie 80 grand.
Oh, right.
To buy a house. So he's like, you don't get to come in and start bossing me around and then act like you have any kind of ownership to this ranch, right? Oh, and it doesn't sound like their mother did a whole lot to
really intervene and stop it.
She wasn't mediating very well at all, right?
Shit.
In January of 2013, there was an argument between Jake and David, Stephanie's husband.
Oh.
They got into some kind of, because there was constant arguments, right? So it was all kinds of tension between, mom and son, brother and sister.
And he's sticking up for his wife.
Exactly, right?
He's like, I have no teeth. What are you complaining about?
Right, exactly. At least you got all your teeth, yo. So apparently during this particular argument, David pulled out a gun.
Oops, that's right. No,
yeah,
I don't like that.
Jake then filed a restraining order against David.
Shit, God damn it, David.
It was David who was like, that's not what happened. I just happen to have a gun on me. Jake also had a gun on him. Oh,
great.
Whatever. They were just walking around with their guns or whatever.
Everybody's got their guns.
Right. You never know when there might be a gun emergency in the middle of the ranch, in the middle of nowhere.
Those duels. I mean, those old
duels.
Cowboys show up and you got to have a duel on,
So anyway, Jake did file a restraining order, but he never enacted it. So I don't know if he just
had to.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he applied for it, but then he didn't follow through. I don't really understand that.
Yeah,
but
I didn't.
In 2013, even there was still tensions are still very high.
Oh, gosh.
So now we're going to fast forward to May 15th, 2015. Jake goes out with his friends, Randy Martinez and Nate Lopez. They went to a movie, I believe, and they made plans to do something the next day.
All right.
He had a tight group of friends. They hung out all the time, right?
That's cool. He should get them to work on the ranch.
They probably, hearing what all Jake had to say, they're
true.
like, no, we're not going anywhere near there. No, have at it. But the next day, Jake didn't show up. And this was really unlike him. He was very dependable, responsible. I also think he also wanted any chance he could to go hang out with his friends and not be at the ranch.
Makes sense. And I was also like, if he wants to be the person to get the ranch, he's not going to fuck around and not come home.
That was really unlike him. Usually, I mean, they were like, it's not like he never canceled plans, but he would at least call or be like, yo, this came up or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, that's weird. And after 5 days, they realized, we still haven't heard from him. 5 days.
Yeah, that might be something to look into. I mean.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, I guess we're going to drive out to the ranch and see what's
happening.
Is he okay?
Was there a duel?
Was there a duel? Was there a duel?
I think there was a duel.
So they go to the ranch and Jake's not there.
Oh,
so they speak to his mother. And Deborah was like, oh, he went to Reno for an MMA tournament. I guess he was part of an MMA mixed martial arts gym in town. He was very active in it. Yeah.
Oh.
And so she's like, oh, he went to a tournament or something in Reno. I don't know when he's coming back.
Weird.
Jake's friends thought that was really weird because they were like, that's kind of the thing that he would have mentioned. Yo, guys, I'm going to Reno in a couple days or next. Like he would have mentioned it.
Like it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's kind of strange, right?
Like
he would have
attending a carnival.
It's not like when the carnival came to town.
Yeah, I mean,
he wasn't just going to the next town. He was heading to Reno.
He was going,
and he was going to be some MMA thing. So they're like, yeah, that's kind of weird.
It's weird that his friends are the ones like, making a fuss.
There's a red flag for you right there, right?
When your friends care more than your family,
right? So they ended up going to Jake's MMA gym.
Okay.
And like, hey.
God, they're investigating.
Oh, yeah. They're like, something's not right here.
Good for them.
And no one there knew anything about Jake going to Reno. And they're like, we don't know any competition or any kind of convention or anything in Reno. None of us went. Right. All of his friends are there. They're like, gosh, now that you mention it, he hasn't been in here in a while. And they also mentioned that they're like, Jake injured himself recently.
Oh, so there'd be no way he's competing.
Exactly. They're like, there's no way. Maybe that's why they thought he hadn't been in the gym in a while because he had hurt himself.
That would make sense.
Right. So they're like, yeah, we don't know of anything happening in Reno, and I can't see why he would have gone because he couldn't do anything.
Oh, no.
So, that's weird. And then one of his friends remembered that, one of the last times I saw Jake, I remember him saying something along the lines of, if anything ever happens to me, it was my family.
Oh, shit. Dang. Well, that's pretty serious. Like nobody just throws that out there. We've had a few of these where people say that and it's not a good sign.
No, it's not. It's not a good sign. People usually don't just throw that phrase around there. They'll say something like, I'm going to kill you. And they don't mean it. But they don't say, if something happens to me, it was my family.
Yeah, here's who to look at.
The people that I live with. And we all walk around wearing guns.
Yeah.
Randy and Nate were like, that's it. We're going to the police station.
Wow, good for them.
Exactly. They go and they filed a missing persons report.
Nice. They're like Scooby and the gang. The mystery machine. These damn meddling kids. All right.
Detectives go to the ranch to speak to Jake's family. We're like, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
Deborah told them that Jake was out of town and that he did that sometimes. He would just leave for weeks at a time and eventually he'd come home.
But did he? Because, I mean, he's holding the ranch together a lot.
He's holding the ranch together. It doesn't really sound like everybody else's description, though. But she made it sound like he was kind of flaky and he would just go off on trips and they wouldn't know exactly where he was going and when he was coming back. And they're like, well, do you have a way to get a hold of him? And she's like, well, no, because, just before he left, he had dropped his phone in a drainage ditch. Convenient. And she even pulls out a bag of rice that she's got a phone in trying to dry out.
That's odd.
She's
like, I'm ready with an excuse.
Here's his phone. I'm trying to dry it out. So there's no way to get a hold of him.
But has it been drying for like 2 weeks now?
Right. I know. It was just like, that's really convenient and weird. Okay. But apparently detectives were like, okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Small town. We don't deal with real things like this. So
exactly. Right. I mean, that sounds legit. I mean, cool. But when Jake's friends hear what Deborah told the detectives, they were like, that really doesn't sound right. That's not Jake. And they really kept pushing and calling back and checking.
Good for them.
Right. Then they started encouraging other friends of Jake. Like,
wow,
can you go to the police? Can you go say something? And so they ended up.
Our people.
These are good people. These are the kind of friends you need, especially when you have a family like that. These are the friends that you need.
Like these guys. Yeah. Okay. I'm impressed.
They pushed. So police went and talked to Deborah again.
Okay.
This time she's like, well, Jake did come back from Reno.
What?
With this guy. I don't know who the guy was. He wasn't a local guy. He wasn't one of his regular friends. And she said that she and Jake argued over his living situation. again.
Great.
Right. She's like, we argue about it all the time. But this time it got particularly nasty.
Uh-oh.
And this time Jake grabbed some camping gear, a gun, a wad of cash, and left. She's like, I don't know where he went. I don't know how long he's going to be gone. He was pissed and he took off.
Right. And she didn't feel the need to contact his very concerned friends.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't. Or police and be like, hey, by the way, he did come back, but he took off again. Nope.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah,
right.
She seems sus.
So about a month later, Deborah finally files a missing persons report for Jake herself.
A month later.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And how old is he by this day? He's grown.
He's like 29.
Okay.
He's grown. Mm-hmm. He has the right to go. We all have the right to disappear. Remember, Kelly? We all have the right to go missing.
I need to cash in on that right here soon.
Right, exactly. So she files a missing persons report for him this time. And she tells detectives that, what I didn't tell you before is Jake has kind of fallen in with a bad crowd. He was abusing cocaine and steroids. I left that part out before. Right?
Yeah. I didn't want to make him look bad.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And she mentioned that he might be on the run from some people.
Oh, well, that could have been handy to know earlier, but all right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, especially if she's concerned about his safety at all.
Right. And also she didn't seem like the concerned mother type.
Yeah. It doesn't.
This was kind of just like,
I'm done dealing with this child.
I know. You don't know what it's like to live with him. I found this part extra interesting. She even told them that he had taken a book from her called How to Disappear Without a Trace.
And why did she have this book?
That was my point. I was like, is this something that people are regularly taking out of the library? Disappear without a trace.
I have to ask my library friend. I'll give him a call. Yeah. What? No.
What? She happened to get it for just some light reading or, something in the bathroom. And Jake was like, I could actually use this, and took it. Like, what?
Yeah, honey, that doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe leave that detail out because that really makes it suspicious.
Yeah. It's also kind of funny because at this point, it's 2015. Most people just Google that shit.
Right.
Whatever.
Absolutely. Oh, okay, honey.
She got a book. So I don't actually know if she got it from the library or if she bought it. Maybe that's why she mentioned it was because she did get it from the library and the charges were adding up. And she was pissed.
I mean,
I don't know.
It gets serious. When those librarians come after you, they're not messing around.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Anyway, detectives did find this odd. She's like changed her story now. This is her third story.
Yeah. And they're like,
still doesn't seem really concerned.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we've only had some missing cows lately. So maybe we'll have something else to look into.
Right.
A little bored.
Exactly. So detectives go back to talk to Randy and Nate with the information from Deborah. And they're like, bullshit, man. This is bullshit. They're like, look, we grew up with this guy. He is reliable. He is dependable. He didn't use drugs. They went out to bars, right? They went out and hung out in bars at night. And they're like, he didn't even drink at the bar. He would be sitting there with like a Coke. Like, he didn't use drugs.
He was very serious about his MMA or something in his body.
Exactly. Okay. Right. He was right. He took care of his body. He was an athlete. He worked on the ranch. Like the guy was fit.
Yeah.
They're like, this doesn't make sense, right? They also were like, here's the other weird stuff, guy. He left his beloved dog behind.
You never leave the beloved.
You never leave the dog. No. Yeah, that's always a red sign too, right? Yeah. So they left his dog behind. That they found was really weird because he was inseparable from his dog. And when he left, he didn't take his prized Harley Davidson Sportster motorcycle. What? And this was his baby. Yeah. So apparently he had a couple bikes, but he had this one, and this was his baby, right? I didn't take that with him either. And they're like, look, none of this sounds like Jake. Right. None of it.
Did he have the little sidecar for his dog? Because that would be amazing. And I would never leave that behind.
That would have been fantastic.
With
I don't know.
Goggles for the dog.
With the goggles.
It'd be so cute.
I'm remembering some like really, really old cartoon.
Right.
With the bad guy on there. And it was like the bad guy dog in the sidecar is what I'm all picturing. I can't remember which cartoon that was.
Oh, with the moose?
Yeah.
And Nadia or whatever her name was.
Yes.
Natasha and Boris.
Boris and Natasha. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. Yes. Anyway. his friends are really frustrated. They're like, I don't know that the police are really taking this seriously.
Yeah.
Deborah obviously doesn't give a rat's ass, right?
No. So we're going on with the mystery machine.
Yeah. Scooby and his gang started a group on Facebook called Where is Jake Millison?
Wow. I'm so impressed by these friends.
I really am too.
I think maybe you might be the only friend that would help.
I could start you a Facebook page.
Right?
As long as they have like a template or something. I'm not really good at creating shit by myself. Hopefully they have like
a missing template. Yeah,
right, exactly. So anyways, they created this Facebook page to try to like, get people to give information, get some tips, right? In October of 2015, remember, no one's seen him since May. Okay. October of 2015, someone shared photos to the page of David Jackson, his brother-in-law that he doesn't get along with, riding Jake's prized motorcycle.
The gall.
Right, exactly.
Whoa, that is bullshit.
And they had a tip that David was claiming that he was selling off Jake's other motorcycles.
Oh, not cool, dude.
Yeah, and that was a huge red flag, not only to his friends, but investigators were like, okay, because from what they understand, not even his friends were allowed to ride or touch the Sportster. So, and he did not get along with his brother-in-law, so he had no business being on it. So there's
absolutely, he knows this guy's not coming back.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. And he's selling off his stuff. If you think he's coming back, why are you selling off his stuff?
Why are you doing this shit? At least he waited a few months.
Right. Exactly.
Like the next week.
Right. So they're like, all right, none of this is adding up, right? The family story is not adding up. A few months later, in early 2016, Deborah Rudibaugh was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer.
Oh, yikes. Not fun.
And over the next year, Deborah's health began to decline. Knowing that there were these red flags, things aren't adding up. Deborah's health is in decline. They were like, I think our window is closing. We're going to have to we can't let this stuff play out and we got to speed this up, right?
Lose it.
So they obtained a search warrant for the ranch and they executed it in July of 2017, which is 2 years after he went. Yeah, it took 2 years for them to search the ranch, right?
Yeah, that's plenty of time to clean up some stuff.
Right? As the search began, Deborah sat down with the investigators and told them, all right, here's the deal. You're going to find Jake's body in the corral under a heap of manure.
Wow, this bitch. This bitch.
Not expecting that, right?
Wow, you bury your own son under a pile of shit.
Right? I mean,
wow.
Just think about that for a second. She's like, I know where he is. I know where you're going to find him. And we put a bunch of manure on it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's her child.
That is so disrespectful. Like,
so cold.
Wow. That's
so cold.
Okay.
Right. And they just were like shocked. They did not expect her to just, they weren't like interviewing her. Like they were just talking to her.
Well, they didn't like, what do I got to lose? I'm going to die anyway. So,
right. So she went on and told detectives that on the night of May 15th, 2015. So that's after he came home from the movies with his friends. That was last time his friends had seen him. She and Jake got into another fight over who should inherit the ranch. This was like ongoing. It was constantly, I don't know, maybe she had given him $20 to go to the movies. And when he came home, she was like, do you have any change for me? And that just started it all.
I don't imagine. I'm 29.
Right. Fuck off, bitch. I got popcorn too. So do you know how much popcorn
is so expensive?
And
extra
Coke
butter.
Is in the movies?
I know. It's terrible.
I wanted gummy worms. It was $7.
It's so
right.
Terrible.
They get in this argument over who should inherit the ranch. And the ranch at this point was estimated to be worth about $3 million.
Ooh, yeah. Them's fighting words. I mean, that, that'll make someone rich.
Well, apparently on this night, she chose to tell Jake that she intended to leave the ranch to Stephanie because she essentially wanted her grandson to have it.
Wow. What a way to cut a guy out.
And she's like, I actually just changed my will a couple weeks ago.
Jesus.
And I updated it. And Stephanie is listed as the sole beneficiary.
Oh, that poor guy. Oh, my God. He has been shit on. Well, I mean, so many ways. In so many ways.
So many ways he's been shit on. Right. And I guess that that was like the last straw for Jake. Jake
I
was
bet.
pissed.
Mm-hmm.
And according to Deborah, he threatened her.
Okay.
I don't know any more than that, just he threatened her.
Said, I'm going to move out and not work for free for you anymore, bitch.
Right. Maybe it was that. She said he threatened her and then walked away and went to bed. And it was in her mind, it was him or her.
Oh,
either she was going to take him out or he was going to take her out.
Okay. Because that's so scary while he's sleeping.
Right. So he was just like, Mom, maybe he was just like, you better fucking change the will or I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, I might have.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe he said, and she took that as, oh,
it's him or me.
It's him or me.
But as a mom, what? I can't even. No.
Right?
Mm-mm.
So she tells detectives that in the middle of the night, she took her 357 and she shot him in the head while he slept.
Oh my God. How could you do that to your own child?
I seriously.
But also, is she taking the fall for the daughter?
Oh, you're so good. You are so good.
She's going to die anyway. So yeah, that's what I would think. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So she said that after she shot him, she dragged him out of the house, out to the corral, and then buried him under manure. And then she threw the gun in the lake.
Manure, though, like, is she thinking that'll make him decompose faster?
I'm not sure. Or that no one's going to be like the Lego character and actually like dive in and dig it out. Well, I don't know.
You reuse a lot of that. I mean, I know on chicken farms and stuff. I mean, reuse a lot of it.
Well, they keep it in a pile because they have needs for it later, right? Don't they?
Right. They use it for crops and stuff. So. They
continued to search. Jake Millison's body, partly decomposed, was found under a huge dung heap in the corral.
I would not want to be those investigators. Just saying.
Right where she said it was going to be.
I mean, their shit's different than human shit, at least. It's not as bad, but.
So once again, detectives had issues with her story.
Yeah.
Deb was 68 years old, very petite. She was about 5 feet tall.
Oh,
she's
tiny.
She's tiny. She weighed maybe 90 pounds. Remember, she's in failing health. You know, she's kind of frail at this point. She's had stage 4 cancer for a period of time now. Okay. Jake was 29. He was about 190 pounds. He was pretty fit because, working on the ranch.
Muscle man.
And then doing MMA. I mean.
And at the time, she hadn't had cancer yet. So maybe she was 10 more pounds or something. But
that's true. Right. You're right. That was before she was diagnosed. But still, right? But Deborah was like, this was all me. I acted alone. Right. Okay. And then I thought this was funny. This is a quote from her. She used Yankee ingenuity to pull him off the bed onto a tarp and then drag him outside.
I am unfamiliar with that term, but I feel like I need to learn what Yankee ingenuity is because I was like, Yankee up
magic?
Here.
Like what? What do you mean by she was, I don't know. She said she had like come-alongs and like she used a tarp and then she dragged him, then she got him in an ATV. I'm just like, really?
Wow.
She did this all by herself.
You do learn a lot on a ranch.
Right? I mean, I get it. It still seems a little far-fetched, right? But she was like, no, it was me. It was just me.
And nobody else heard anything or saw anything,
right,
even though everyone lives there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As they were continuing the search and they're finding his body and stuff, they found the gun that Deborah described.
In the lake.
Yeah, that she threw in the lake. Yeah, it was under her bed.
Oops.
Did she think that because she said it was in a lake, they wouldn't look under her bed? Or I'm like.
That's super stupid. Come on, lady. Follow through.
Weird. Investigators then went to interview Stephanie and David Jackson.
All right, here we go.
All right. They both denied having any knowledge of the murder and appeared completely surprised. What? He's dead? No. What? My mom confessed? What? Like they were just like, what?
Wow.
Stephanie cried and was like, I know that my brother and I didn't get along, but I would never hurt him.
Right.
Unless
it was for maybe a $3 million ranch. But
right.
What are the chances?
She did, however, ask, well, how did my mom get Jake out of the house? And that's when investigators were like, well, we didn't tell you where he was killed. Only that your mother admitted that she killed him.
Oops. Just assumed. I mean, there hasn't been a smell.
Right. So How would you know to ask that if you didn't
interesting. Oops.
So both David and Stephanie were given polygraph tests. They both said they would take them. They both failed epically. Nope. So they're like, all right, yeah, these two are full of shit, right? So they went ahead and they obtained David and Stephanie's cell phone records, right?
Ooh.
So the problem was there was no good cell service at the ranch. So they couldn't use the records to prove who was at the ranch that night. They couldn't use cell phones to ping.
Yeah.
Okay. David had an alibi for that night.
He was at the circus.
He went to visit his carny friends in Denver.
Yeah.
It did say. So he said he was in Denver when this happened. And they were able to confirm, he was in Denver the night this happened, or like the days leading up and after.
That's what I was going to say. How did they know the exact? I guess so. They did.
So there probably was witnesses. His cell phone probably pinged in Denver or whatever.
All right.
But they couldn't use the cell phone records to tell whether or not Stephanie was there. However, Stephanie had sent a text message at 3:17 a.m. on May 16th, the morning Deborah said she had shot Jake.
Okay.
And the text message said, "It's time to play."
That's odd. And very creepy.
She did delete it 6 minutes later.
Oh, that's even worse.
PSA, everybody. The internet lives on forever. You can't just delete shit. We've had this conversation before. So just because you deleted it doesn't mean you didn't send it. Once it's out there, man, and those internet cats get into the interwebs, they got it.
Yeah, meow.
All right. And then looking at all her social records, they found out that sometime after that, she made a Facebook post.
Oh.
The social media will get you every time.
Oh my God, what is she doing?
And the Facebook post said, quote, "Have you ever been woken up with such awesome news you wanted to run outside screaming?"
Wow, this bitch.
Wow.
I mean, wow. That's
cold. Cold.
Okay.
Right. She had also posted comments to friends on social media, basically saying that her mom had altered her will and that she was the sole heir of the ranch.
God, like heartless, both like mom, like daughter, I guess.
Oh my God, right?
Daughter, like mother. Just
cold, man. When Jake's autopsy was completed, it did confirm that Jake was likely shot in the head while sleeping.
Shit.
The bullet had not exited his body, though, so they were able to match it to Deb's gun.
I forgot it was under my bed.
Right. So they knew the gun.
Wow.
They knew it was Deb's gun. During another interview in January of 2018, David just kept saying, look, I wasn't involved in the murder. I had nothing to do with disposing of his body. But he finally did admit, because they're like, look, your polygraph test was a shit show. So
you did not get that through. Like, you know how they have like the side shows at the carnival? He didn't get like the psychic abilities to be able to conjure up false.
No, not at all. They're like, look, you're lying about something. You know something. You suck, and there's something in here. So he's like, all right, I did know that Jake was dead. We kind of already knew that because you were trying to sell his shit, but whatever.
Yeah.
So he's like, here's the deal. In June of 2017, which was just a month before they did the search warrant.
Okay.
He and his friend, Jeremy McDonald, who they were working on the corral. They were cleaning up the corral.
Right.
Jeremy had been hired as a ranch hand after Jake was gone. So they did hire somebody because they finally hired another person, right? So David had been on a skid loader and he was moving manure. When he uncovered an upper torso and a rib cage partially wrapped in plastic.
Damn, that's not a fun discovery.
Right. So he immediately turns off the loader.
Yeah.
And so Jeremy and Stephanie run over to investigate. They're like, what's going on? Why'd you stop?
No.
Stephanie starts screaming, going, cover it back up, cover it back up, cover it back up.
Oh, shit. Not like, oh my God, what is that?
Right. And then she runs into the house to talk to her mom. The two guys are out there going, oh shit.
Yeah.
Stephanie then comes back out a few minutes later and says, hey, I talked to my mom. What that is some illegal wild game that Jake had shot.
Why does it have your brother's face on it? Because that's weird.
They didn't see that. So, but she said it was possibly a bear. And that was illegal.
So they bald bear. The bald bear.
So they buried it there.
Right.
So what I find interesting is either this was an incredibly small bear.
Right.
Or it was a regular sized bear, and all that work on the ranch and the MMA fighting, Jake had really bulked up.
He got massive. That's not 190 pounds right there.
Right? Wow. I was like, I don't think that makes sense. So anyways, she's like, but look, it's illegal. Just cover it back up. Cover it back up. Right.
Okay.
And so that's what David did.
Shit.
But David admitted to police that he was like, Jeremy and I were pretty sure that was Jake.
Oh my God.
As soon as they saw it, they were like, oh.
Next day, Jeremy's like, I'm out. Bye.
Right. David, there was an interview in Snapped. They showed their police interrogations and all this. And in one, David said, honestly, after this and all of that, I have a strong feeling it could have been Steph.
Oh, wow.
Right. So he basically just laid it out and was like, it could have been my wife. I'll be honest with you. This doesn't look good.
She's not very easy to deal with. Just saying. Wow.
Right.
Shit.
Police then went and talked to Jeremy McDowell. That's you. McDonald. Jeremy McDonald, who was so they went and interviewed him. And he was like, he corroborated David's story. He's like, yep, that's pretty much what happened.
I can't believe he didn't come forward or something.
Well,
holy false.
He said, he was like, he and David were like, yeah, Stephanie has got to be in on some of it. She's got to, it's, she knew it was there, whatever.
Oh.
And he said, ever since he came to work on the ranch, Stephanie was in charge, not Deborah, right? She would sit around and bark orders at everyone. She was very controlling, right?
Ew.
So police asked what you asked. They're like, look, you found this. You were pretty sure it was his body.
Right. Why didn't you
say something? And he was like, well, to be honest with you, right after that happened, Stephanie kind of came up to me and said something like, you can never leave, right? And he goes, I'll be honest with you. Yeah. He's like, I'll be honest with you. David and I, we were afraid of her.
Yeah. No shit.
She had taken out her own brother.
It's like, we're in this rural place. What's she going to do to me next? So.
Who wore the pants in that relationship between Stephanie and David?
Oh, yeah.
That was...
Everyone's afraid of Steph.
Oh, yeah. So he's like, to be honest with you, I was like, oh, shit.
I don't want to die today. So
prosecutors were pretty sure it was probably Stephanie who was behind the murder.
I mean, it kind of sounds that way.
And, she probably ordered her mother to kill Jake.
Probably.
She probably said, nope, that's it. You're going to have to take him out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's time.
She probably helped get rid of the body because I don't see how Deb could have done that by herself.
Not even one person. No.
And that once police were onto them, Deborah decided to take the fall for her daughter, like you said, because, she was terminally ill. Right?
Yeah, I'm going to die anyway.
So, right. I'll die in prison. It won't take that long. And then Stephanie and David and their son, they'll have the ranch. See, all delivered in a nice.
Yeah. Here's your nice little package.
Exactly.
Here's a little package of shit.
Right. Right. Oh, it's a lot of shit in the story.
That's a lot of shit.
So in March of 2018, Deborah Rudibaugh, Stephanie Jackson and David Jackson were all arrested for the murder of Jake Millison. Deborah was charged with first-degree murder, tampering with a deceased human body, abuse of a corpse, and destruction of evidence.
Yeah.
Stephanie and David were charged with accessory to first-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and destruction of evidence.
Wow. And David's like, dude, I didn't do it.
All I did was work the loader.
All I did was find the body and know that it probably happened.
All three decided to agree to plea deals.
Ooh, okay.
None of them wanted to take their chance with the jury.
Yeah. I mean,
probably because they're all cold as ice and everybody would have been like, I'm sure their lawyers were like,
you're going to get the death penalty if you.
Right. They're going to take one look at you guys and be like, you guys are assholes. Like this, right?
You're done for.
Right. So Deborah pled guilty to second-degree murder.
Oh, God.
She was charged with first and all those other things, but she pled to second-degree murder, and she was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Yeah, she's not going anywhere.
She insisted her daughter had nothing to do with the murder. that she did everything on her own, that her daughter knew nothing. Mm-hmm. She never once during pleading or sentencing said that she was remorseful for killing her own son.
I can't. Oh my God. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah. Her only concern was Stephanie had nothing to do with it. She had nothing to say about Jake whatsoever.
Just wanted her daughter to take on the $1 million ranch.
So just, and he had worked there since he was 6 years old. Mm. So awful, just awful, right? So she died in prison in November of 2019.
Okay. So she spent some time in there.
Yeah, she did. I mean, I'm sure she was in jail before the plea deal and stuff. So she, I don't know, maybe 2 years in prison. And she was 70 years old when she died.
Okay.
David Jackson entered an Alford plea for tampering with a human body. So remember, that's where you don't really admit guilt, but you admit that there's enough evidence that you're probably not going to win this. Right. So you're like, all right, cool. I'll say I'm guilty. Just because I know. Right.
Yeah. Don't give me as much.
He was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Wow.
And he will be eligible for parole in June of 2023.
Oh, that's really close. Yeah. But you know what? He's not returning to the ranch. I bet.
No, he can probably go back to the carnival though.
Yeah, that's true. He's got skills. Yeah, I mean, they'll
go
take
back
anyone.
To his carny beginnings.
Go back to your roots.
Yeah, go back to your roots. Stephanie Jackson pled guilty to tampering with a deceased human body, and the rest of the charges were dropped. I know, right? Don't you think that's cold? However, the judge gave her the maximum sentence of 24 years.
Oh, yes. Okay, good.
So I was like, all right. So she won't be eligible for parole until 2029.
Wow. But then like all her littles and stuff.
Yeah. Oh. So, and I guess their son is currently being raised by David's family. So I guess he's a carny now.
I hope he's good at the darts game.
This poor kid. I mean, wow.
Shit. And the ranch and stuff like.
Yeah. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's happened to the ranch, but
how sad.
Yeah, that's
wow, that is a dung heap. Mm-hmm.
That is a dung heap. Yeah, that I mean,
is some cold shit. It's weird what people do for money. Like
I know.
Weird to me. Dang, was it worth it? Good job, Gunnison. I'm glad you got
Thanks for getting yourself on the map there.
The Mystery Machine people, because if it wasn't for them.
If it wasn't for Scooby and his pals.
Yes.
No one would have known what happened to him. Right. If it wasn't for the meddling for the kids. Exactly. No one would have known what happened.
Away with it.
Yep. To poor Jake Millison. He would have just stayed there under the poop.
Oh, Jake.
I know. Did he get the shaft? Totally. So like from day one, man. Just
totally.
His family shit on him.
So many ways.
All the way to the very end.
Yeah.
I mean.
That is rude. Oh. Okay, I got to hear about this episode you watched on it.
Okay, so I watched, it was Snapped, season 29, episode 9. It's just called Deborah Rudibaugh.
29 seasons?
They're up to like 32 or 33 now.
Wow.
I know. So it was just, the name of the episode is just Deborah Rudibaugh. Although I feel like Stephanie's name could have been in there too.
Yeah, and pile of shit.
And right, exactly. Yeah. So if it had been like Forensic Files, it probably would have had a much more exciting name, but
true.
My other sources were oxygen.com, thedenverpost.com, the Cinemaholic, and of course, Wikipedia.
Good story.
All right. Thank you everybody for listening.
We'll see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful.
Hey Oddies, thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM. If you're a longtime listener, hey, we cannot thank you enough for your continued support. And if you're a new listener, thanks for giving us a try. If you like us, please drop us a like, subscribe, or rate us so we can share our stories with more people around the world. And if you'd like more information, like links to our podcast and socials, along with our Patreon fan page, those links are all on Linktree under ODFM Podcast. That's linktr.ee/ODFM podcast. Side note, you guys, we're obsessed with fan art, and we love making things with it, like stickers for our fans. So if you'd like us to use your designs, send it to us at odfmpodcast@gmail.com. And if we use your design, we'll be sure to send you a sticker.